My brother is rematriculating back into college after taking a semester off. He kind of re-entered late, and they're having trouble giving him rooms. He's a senior; he needs to graduate, so we've been doing everything we can to put him at the top of the list. Dad, my dad has been, calling the school and making sure everything's fine, and trying to see if there's anything they can do. We kind of all fell victim to the process, so and he's been trying to sort everything out one at a time. And tonight, my mom is stressing out, looking at Airbnb, seeing if there's any places off campus that he could, potentially stay in until they find him a room. Assuming his idea with one of his friends doesn't work out, and the school can't find him a room in time. And it's kind of a point of contention. My dad was saying, stop fussing about it. It's like, why are you getting so upset about it? Why are you blaming everyone else? She was upset, obviously. She was stressed out. But it wasn't with evil intention. I mean, she obviously cared. And so did my dad. My dad obviously cared too. They both just expressed it in different ways. My dad's always, when something needs to be done. Family, he's always the practical solutions kind of guy. A little bit like me. He will not waste any time and just calmly try to sort through it the best way he can. At least when there's a problem that he feels like, he should deal with. I'm not as good as he is, but I get that from him. But it's weird because I also get that emotional side from my mom. Where, I want to take charge and, make sure I'm doing the best I can for that other person. And not let them help or let anyone else help. Because I feel like I know what's best. Or I feel like I can only trust myself sometimes. And, the underlying point is that we all care. It's not, no one stops loving each other because, my dad might be invalidating my mom's feelings about this, saying she shouldn't cry. No, they don't stop loving each other because my mom doesn't think that dad cares enough, or, isn't worrying enough, doesn't feel enough. The truth of the matter is that they speak different love languages, and they all care the same. And as soon as you stop wanting to communicate in between those love languages, it's when you fall out of love. Now, there are exceptions, obviously. And this is where you have to think critically about this. But when everyone's going to act out of their own pain or the pain of their lives, that's just how people work. Nothing's going to be the way you want it to be. Life's going to throw you wrenches and curveballs, and you're going to have to deal with them. And there's no person on this planet that can get through life unscathed, without getting angry, without getting frustrated, without getting sad, without crying. unless they have some serious biological defect, there's just no way. And some people, they cope with these things differently than others. That's their love language, that's their life language. But the difference being is when you start associating that pain with the other person is when you should stop communicating in different love languages. And that's not to say that your pain should be felt because of your own inhibitions. It can be. Sometimes things just don't work out, but that's okay. I'm talking about real pain that you associate with the other person. Like degrading you, putting you down, just overall not making you feel good, physically harming you. Consistently trying to put you in a box, not raise you up ever. And I think above all else, a sense of them wanting to control you, wanting to feel like they're in power over you, because that's not love anymore. That's hierarchy, borderline, anti-human rights. But sometimes people get that confused. In relationships, there's sometimes power struggles, which aren't good. Sometimes there's disagreements, which aren't healthy. Sometimes someone wants one thing, the other person wants the other thing. That's also normal. And if you want two things, all the power to you. Maybe it's meant to work, maybe it's not. And that's how life works sometimes. But as soon as you want control over the other person, like you want them to start fitting your needs. You want them to not even compromise with you, just to obey your every whim or be there for you forever. Like no matter what you're going through. And not trying your best to give back in return. Once you start asking for that power, that is when things need to stop. But like I said, many people misinterpret that for like honest disagreements. And that's where things can get confusing. But if there's a train of thought that you're going to meet someone that can read minds or be tailored to fit you ideally and you fit them ideally, that's just fantasy. The truth of the matter is that you have to learn to speak other love languages in order to find someone that's really the right fit for you. Someone that balances you out. Someone that provides a yin to your yang. That's how the best teams are. Because two of the same people it's repetitive. it can't work. Maybe in a vacuum, but in real life it just can't. And ownership over a person never should work. But my parents don't try to claim ownership over each other, by no means, just because they think differently, just because they love differently. There is no sense of abuse or on emotional or physical level. There's no gaslighting because they don't understand each other all the time. There's just love and care. And deep down, they both understand that. As frustrated as they might be right now, they understand that. And I wish more people would understand that. Whether it be some breakup, divorce, what have you, awful arrangement. Maybe not awful, maybe just one that's not meant to be. People start to think that the other person just didn't care, and that's not the case at all. You ignore your entire relationship when you declare that. You ignore all of it. You don't learn from any of it. Unless that person actively tried to keep you down and not try to make you the best person you can be. Unless that person hurt you physically, then you can't say that they didn't care. Because they did. Maybe just in a different way than you did. Ultimately, that's what people do. I think the real difference between a good person and a bad person is one that, cares for their fellow man, for their fellow woman, in the same way that you would in love. Versus the scum of the earth that try to manipulate and control people. That's what I think separates good and bad. That's what I think separates healthy from unhealthy behaviors. As someone that either does or doesn't recognize the importance of everyone on this earth, no matter what their relation is to them, and at least show some compassion. If not compassion, then at least empathy toward one another. Once you stop that, and then really you just stop being human. You start becoming godless. I'm not even religious, and I'm using that term. And that's not to say that I fall under this category. I think quite the opposite. Because when it boils down to situations for people that I shouldn't care about anymore, but I still have some connection to, I want to be there for them. Because there's nothing that gives me greater joy in the world than helping people in that way. Because right now that's something I can't do for myself as much as I want. And so I compensate for that by doing that for other people. Sue me if that's wrong. I know I'm trying my best to help myself. Quite frankly, there's not a whole lot I need to do aside from the practical things that I've already discussed on this channel. Get a job, get a foundation, be independent. Someone at my age, that should be the case. I should figure that out. But as far as moral alignments go, as far as what I want out of life, what I understand of people, I know exactly where I stand. And that's a place of love and compassion. And not everyone's going to see that, but I do. It's taken me 8 years, 8, to refigure that out. But I have. And I know I'm not wrong. And that's what people should tell themselves. People should tell themselves that I do this, I show compassion towards others, therefore I am a good person. And that doesn't mean, in the most minimal sense, show compassion, do acts of compassion. It means live it, it means breathe it. It means actively having every single fiber in your being wanting best for people and wanting to make sure that everything's okay. Between you, between other people. Wanting a sense of happiness. Not putting other people down. That's how people should know that they're good people inside. I'm going to take that knowledge, I'm going to run to the bank with it. There's nothing that people can say or do that to blind me from that fact anymore. I'm done believing stupid rhetoric. I'm done believing this neoliberal idea of self-deprecation not because of who you are on the inside, but because of who you are on the outside. Or who you are in the eyes of others. I'm done focusing purely outward. And now I'm going to start inward and go from there. And see where my heart takes me. Because I know that I have that sense of compassion. It's just a matter of who I want to share it with. And that's for everyone that I have known, everyone that I will know. And I mean everyone. And that includes you watching this. You stop by my channel to see me sort of have this sort of existential crisis in front of a camera. That means all my ex-girlfriends that probably hate me by now. It means all those kids that I wronged in college or high school. Anyone that I rubbed the wrong way on the street. For everyone, really. I am proud of what I've accomplished in these past 8 years. The fact that I'm not sitting in front of this camera and stumbling over my words, and publicly speaking so emphatically about something I didn't think I'd be so emphatically speaking about, is a testament as to how I've overcome my disabilities and how hard I'm working to better myself and better others around me. It's whether or not the people around me want to understand my love language. If they don't, fine. It's life. I haven't always been understanding of other people's love languages. I can't expect the same from me. But I won't have it be questioned anymore. I won't doubt it for a second. I won't doubt where my heart is anymore. I won't push it aside. Because without that, what am I? This past month, I've done nothing but push it aside. Because I thought for that much time that I needed to sacrifice it entirely. To hold on to something that I really wanted. Neglecting all the pain that I caused, that the other person caused. Ignoring how unhealthy this all was. Ignoring my initial plan to stay away for a month. Maybe I wasn't ignoring it. Maybe I was listening fully to it. Maybe that's just my hindsight telling me that that's what I should have done, but in reality, what I felt like doing was showing all that compassion as best I could. Because I cared. Because that was my love language. And that was the time that it hurt. more than anything in the world to not have that understood, to have it chewn and regurgitated into something that it wasn't. But it taught me an important lesson. It taught me that that thing that I really wanted is something that I don't actually want. Or maybe not that, but maybe it's something that I just can't have or shouldn't ask for. Because by that point, it's not meant to be. But I'll still show compassion. I still don't have an ounce of wanting to hate or manipulate or control anything, abuse or hurt anyone. All I want is just to be friends when the time's right. But if that's not possible, then it's not possible. But it becomes less and less possible. I think because at least one of the parties isn't putting in the necessary effort or communication or respect to make that happen. So with regard to this situation specifically, if I decide to give up one day and the other person doesn't know about it and they want to reach out and they were too late, they were stuck busy being angry and saddened about the situation. Too busy being preoccupied with what was outside of them as opposed to within them. And then they're going to see this, and then they're going to think back to exactly how much I cared. As a friend, as a boyfriend. And they're going to shit their pants at the thought that they may never find someone that exudes that much compassion or care and that kind of love language ever again. But I think they will. And I think I will too. Because despite what love language we were speaking, the amount of care we had behind it was so much. More so than anyone really our age could possibly express. So to everyone out there with their own love language, remember who you are, but don't be afraid to translate. Because once you stop translating, you stop opening yourself up to love.